The state of the planet is broken. Dear friends, humanity is waging war on nature. This is suicidal. Nature always strikes back, and it is already doing so with growing force and fury. It is time to flick the green switch. We have a chance not simply to reset the world economy, but to transform it.
Well, that was the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres today, urging world leaders to make the fight against global warming a priority in 2021. The data from 2020 is already alarming. Two major UN reports published today say this year is on track to be one of the hottest ever recorded. And they say human-caused greenhouse gases are to blame. Now, there is some progress. 127 countries are considering or have adopted net zero emissions targets. But the UN says too many governments are still expanding their fossil fuel industries. All right, for more now, let's cross over to Stanford in California and bring in Noah Diffenbaugh, who's a climate scientist at Stanford. Noah, it's good to have you on the program. The words today from Antonio Guterres, a suicidal war on nature. That's some of the strongest language that we have ever heard from a UN leader. Is this sense of urgency, is it being matched in policy?
Well, the core of the climate challenge is really that the climate change is a side effect of energy consumption, fossil fuel energy consumption, and that energy consumption is really critical for human well-being. And the reality is we don't supply as much energy as we need to globally right now. So the real challenge is how to ensure that all people on Earth have access to the energy that's necessary for well-being, while simultaneously stabilizing the climate system. And in order to stabilize the climate system, we will have to reach net zero emissions. That's just the fundamental physics of planet Earth.
The rhetoric that's been coming from the incoming Joe Biden administration sounds good. He's even appointed John Kerry to be the special envoy for the climate. Isn't the U.S., though, too far behind here to play catch-up? Well,
what's key about global warming and climate change is really the cumulative total emissions. The global warming that we get are essentially proportional to the total global emissions. The U.S. has been around a quarter, around 25% of the greenhouse gas emissions historically, the largest single contributor to the total global warming to date. And the U.S. has also been a driver of innovation. California, for example, where I live, has been a real leader in being a test bed for climate policies, for technologies, for showing that it's possible to decrease greenhouse gas emissions while also continuing to have economic growth and have a vibrant economy. We have a long way to go here in California to continue to address inequality, but that's something that has been prioritized in the latest state climate policy. So within the U.S. and even within the federal government, there is a lot of leadership, and there's potential to continue to accelerate that leadership in the years ahead.
We know that this is one of the hottest years on record. And I'm sure where you are, you've seen or smelt the smoke from the California wildfires this year. I mean, we're even talking about heat waves in the oceans now. 2020, the warmest oceans have been in recorded history. That was part of the report that came out today. Is it not a source of deep frustration to you that the U.S., at least on a federal level, has sat this one out for 4 important years?
As scientists, we're trying to understand the way the world works. We've learned a lot about the climate system over the last decade in particular about how the global warming that's already happened is impacting people and ecosystems. The wildfires that you mentioned here in California, which absolutely have been nearby in the Bay Area and enveloped not just the Bay Area, but so much of California and the West Coast of the United States in smoke. Our research shows that California is now experiencing about twice as many extreme wildfire weather days as 4 decades ago. The area burned in the Western United States has increased around tenfold in the last 4 decades. About half of that is attributable to long-term global warming. So we have a much clearer understanding of the impacts of climate change here and now compared with a decade or two ago. We also have clear understanding that those impacts will accelerate as global warming continues. Really, we're in a situation where the more global warming we get, the greater the risk, the more intense the impacts. Reducing the level of global warming will reduce that intensification, but we already know we're experiencing impacts from the 1.1 degrees Celsius of warming we've already had. Even at 2 degrees of warming, or even at 1.5 degree of warming, we'll have more intensification of risks relative to today. So it's a challenge. It's a solvable challenge. It will require increasing energy access, decarbonizing the energy system, and adapting to climate change.
Professor Noah Diffenbaugh at Stanford University. Professor, we appreciate your time and your insights tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.